Hello and welcome to this Feminine Goddess panel of the Collective Consciousness. Today we're going to have many more females joining us, but we're happy to have the ones we have here now. Kirsten Munstein of the Metaphysical Fat podcast and Raquel from Rock That Truth on X and Twitter. Thank you for being here, ladies.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi. Yes, thanks
Absolutely.
for having us.
Okay, well, let's dive right into Raquel's topic and see where that takes us. You had a few things you wanted to dive into, so I'll leave it up to you where you want to start with the discussion.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So I was thinking that we could talk a little bit about the land and the Ken's domains and how that's like a big part of our awakening. It's like our land has kind of been stolen from us all over the planet. Like here in America, they just had a huge piece in the big, beautiful bill to like steal like 30 million acres or something. And it got stopped. But it was all to like bring awareness on it for us to be like, hey, no, you can't be taking our land. Sorry, they're doing some construction in the house next door to me. So sorry about the noise. So anyway, so that got stopped. But what that did was it kind of brought eyes on that, you know, because people have been kind of asleep, right? They've been under a spell and didn't really know what was happening to all of our land, right? With the government owning like almost all of America to the Mason-Dixon line. Like they've owned all that land past Alabama and just kind of took it from us. Like we're like, oh, what? Like, why do they own? Why is Bill Gates and China and all these people like owning our land? So people are starting to wake up to that. But why do you get to take our land from us and sell it to these other countries and to these crazy people? So people are waking up to that. And what this is doing is allowing consciousness. Sorry, y'all, it's so loud.
It's not
There's
that
a
loud over
fire.
here, so don't worry.
There's a fire on the little island behind me, and DNR's over there trying to put it out because it's been so dry here. We haven't had any rain. Hey! Okay, so going back to what I was saying. So people are starting to wake up to like our land there's been a land grab, and really it's not their land to just give away. It's our land. Over in Russia, any person that wants to get 2.5 acres of land, all they have to do is apply for it, and Putin will allow them to have 2.5 acres. They have to prove for 3 years that they'll take care of it, produce on it, take care of their family and themselves. There's a little bit of guidelines. But this is kind of awakening us, like, why is that not happening here? Like, why are we not able to just have land to be able to be on our planet? So there's a huge movement happening over in Russia since the Anastasia books came out. And that being so, there's a whole new civilization of people that are being created over there that are recalibrating back to the land, healing the planet. And that's going to start pushing this way, like over here to us, like even Canada, we're going to start seeing that. And now we're starting to see it, like it's starting to kind of come into our consciousness, like the books finding us. Like, I guess I wasn't ready for the books, but now I am, and they found me. So this is just kind of awakening us, like, guys, stand in your power. Like, we need to present these opportunities to our government and say what we want, say what we desire. And we're going to start seeing things change big time.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the reasons America was so amazing is not that long ago, they were doing the same thing themselves. If you wanted land, they wanted people to populate all these newer states they were pushing into, and they would just hand you the deed for mass amounts of land, sometimes barely any money, sometimes promises that you would produce for like the common, like there were, I don't think they call it lords. That's why I'm struggling for the word. They had their own word for it, but they produced
homestead. It was like a homestead act. So what happened with that is they made it so complicated, and like there's so many like loopholes, and it's almost impossible to like do that. So we got to start kind of coming together and presenting new options to Trump, to them, because they want to hear from us. They want us to like be the ones to say what we want.
Absolutely. Kirsten, what are your thoughts there, especially as the other American of the group?
I agree. I think we need to go back to that. Actually, the place where I live now was originally a homestead in my family. So So there's that. But it is much more difficult now. And, and there's always the worry. I mean, right now, they're sending people in to assess for weather damage and trying to buy places out around here. The government is. So, it is getting a little bit worrisome because they have that where, at least in the US, if you have a natural disaster on your property, they can condemn it and basically give you some money and take it away. So, so I don't know, Raquel. I don't know if they want to hear from us. It's like,
well, I think they do. I think we have to be like, okay, because everything's flipping. Like we're flipping out of the Kali Luga. It's like everything's changing. So it's like we have to be the ones to be like, okay, guys, this is what we want. This is what we desire. This is what we're owed. Like this is our planet. They don't own all the land. The fact that they even thought they did, like, how did that even happen? You know what I mean? Like, so it's us just asking the questions, really.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and we need to do that because, like you said, how did they even believe that they owned all the land? They obviously didn't. They just said, "Oh, well, we can fool all these people, so we're just going to say we own it all," and it's crazy to think that you could not be able to simply have some land. It's just boggling to my mind. But I do think that movement is growing in the US because I know so many people who are saying, hey, I think I want to move to the country and start growing my own food and so forth. And even, 20 years ago, you didn't see that. People weren't really talking about that or planning to do it. And now it's really a thing. So I think you're right. We need to really stand strong and let everyone know what we want, what we expect.
Oh gosh, yeah. And I think what's happening is they created so much propaganda over there in Russia, like from us, like they shielded Russia and created all this propaganda, so we don't really know what's going on over there. But there is a huge movement happening over there. I mean, it is so big, and it's the Ken's domains, and it's people who are like, no, I want to love my land. I want to create love on my property. I want to recalibrate back to the elementals and the way we really are supposed to be, because we really are the supercomputers. Like, it's not the other way around. Like, we're the supercomputers. And once we get back into nature, we start to activate all those gifts again. And then the birds start showing us, and the squirrels, the squirrel will bring you a little pine cone and pull it apart and give you the nut. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah. We go full Disney princess. That's what we need, really. We joked about this before me in person.
We joked about that. Yeah. Samadhi does look like being a Disney princess in some aspects, I do believe. Like we said.
Oh, it's always there in the movies. They've been telling us the whole time, like in all these movies. They make us think it's the movies, but really it's like real life. That's how we really are.
You're right. And that's why hi, Spinja. That's right. So I think, yeah, I agree. And I do think it's true when you go out in nature and really connect back to the earth. God is such a gift because we are so connected, honestly, so connected to the earth, and we've been so deliberately disconnected from the earth that it's really important for all of us to reconnect with nature, because that's one of the ways they've kept us from stepping into our power, is disconnecting us from our planet.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I was just going to ask you, Samantha, what are your thoughts there on how the government should treat land and how we can move forward as a progressive society?
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? The government, like these ladies have just said, don't own the land, really. And the government forget that they work for us. And that's the big principle that we need to really start to understand. we're not ruled by the government is ruled by us. And when we start to understand that power dynamic, we understand that the land cannot be owned. It's a living, breathing, sentient being. Like Raquel was saying, there's nature spirits. It is the heart of the whole existence that we're here for. And I really enjoyed what she was saying about the technocratic movement of like the AI moving towards transhumanism versus the human organic technology that is in fact activated by being closer to the earth. And this is what we're all kind of being asked to look at now, especially as women. We've all, you know, we're all creator beings. We've all got that extra special je ne sais quoi, we'll call it. We've got wombs, we birth things. That's what we're here to do. And it's the feminine wisdom I feel that we need more of right now.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I'd like to share a personal story about the government and my property. This happened in 2019. My sister was coming to visit me, and she was on my driveway, which is about over half a mile long. And as she came into my driveway, there was a man in the driveway, and he told her he was with FEMA. And she said, "This is private property. Were you invited here?" And he said, "I have to see if there's flood damage." Now, I live up on top of a bluff, and it has not flooded in memorable history. And she said, "Well, there's no flood damage here." And he said, "No, I've got to check and see if there's flood damage." So she called me and she said, "There's this man coming up the driveway and he says he's with FEMA and he wants to check for flood damage." And I said, "Well, that's ridiculous. There's not been a flood here. Why would he check for flood damage?" So I walked outside and I met him on the driveway and I said, "Stop. You need to leave right now. You are not welcome here. This is private property." And he said, "Well, I need to check for flood damage." And seriously, the man had such a thick accent. He was not even from America. And he was like, "Well, I'm with FEMA. I have the," and I said, "No, you don't have any authority here. This is private property. You need to leave." I was wearing this jacket with big pockets in it. And I put my hands in my pockets. And I think he thought I had a gun. I didn't at the time. But I think he thought, I saw it in his face. He thought I was reaching for a gun. And he said, "Okay, well, okay, I'll go. It's fine." And he turned around and left. But you have to stand up to these people. They don't actually have a right to come on to your property to check for flood damage, especially in a place that has not even been flooded. I mean, it was like, what is wrong with you? Why would you even say that? I mean, couldn't you come up with a better story than that? Because we haven't had any floods here, dumbass. Get the hell out of here. And he left. And I've not heard anything from them since. But that's one of the things we really have to do. We have to know our rights and we have to stand up to these people.
Yeah,
because
and that sounds like.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that sounds like gang stalking. Like you were, being scoped out in a way you were targeted to see what's going on. And they know who we are. We're like nodes on the, the chart for them. They know who we are. So, but you're protected. Yep, you're protected. And obviously they got the picture. So I'm proud of you. Yeah.
I think it's an issue with Kirsten's land because she's got very special land. Yeah. So they want control over that, don't they? That's the thing. Oh, hi, it's Sarah.
Hi. Sorry, it took me a while. And I mean, I was here. I just couldn't get it together somehow. I don't know.
I must have sent the wrong link to the girl group. I apologize because Kyla had the same issue. So thank you for sticking with it and getting here. Let's jump to Kyla, and then that'll help Sarah get versed on what we're discussing here. Because I know you and Dawn have plans of land, and I myself had similar aspirations. But the bureaucracy in Canada to do what you want with your own land kind of makes me clench at I'm not there yet energetically to put up with all that. Put it that way. So, what is your thoughts with getting this land and starting your own sovereign existence, which a lot of us really want, and the call is there for?
So I'll be honest, I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention these days to what we can and can't do. We're just going to do it and cross that bridge when we come to it. we're at the spot, like, as you know, Diana, like, real estate prices have just gotten ridiculous here. I think it's across the board, but especially like in suburban areas, like, you're like in Calgary, for what you can buy an apartment for, you can get acreage in northern Alberta, and nobody wants to be there. And like, okay, we so how, like, where I grew up, I'm used to having to drive everywhere for everything. If you have a doctor's appointment, you have to drive like at least an hour. If it's a specialist, it's probably at least 3. So for me, this is not a huge adjustment. But it's gotten ridiculous. It's unattainable for a working family. Like, I'm staring down the barrel of 50, and I have no problem with that. Like, honestly, life's just getting started. But like, you hear people shaming people about not owning property and all that. It was like, you can't. Like, we're still trying to dig out of living like life in Ontario. Like, it really is that much of a difference. So I guess, to get back to the original question, we're just going to go and do our thing until somebody tries to stop us. And if they try to stop us, then they better have a damn good explanation as to why. What's the reasoning? Like, we know, like, even like looking at the supply places, like PV Mart, like a lot of they're attacking like the farm supply places as well. It's not just, I don't think it's even just the property. Getting a little nervous about how we're going to find all of that, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, our
Can I
local
just say-
PV Mart
oh.
just closed as well. I just wanted to add that. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just saying there's a war all across like, it's not just one country. It's the whole lockstep plan that they've got. Price people out, force them into like really small apartments. They want everybody like condensed in cities so they can watch everybody, control them, put the Wi-Fi and all that jazz on. And it's like they're doing this to kind of control the farmers. And there's a big thing, I think it was Richard actually. Was it something to do with the Crimean War? I haven't got the specifics. And essentially what they did, they starved people. They took their farms and they starved them to death. And that's what they want to do, because when you control the supply of food, you control the world basically. And if the peasants decide to rebel, if they've got no potatoes, as in the case of Ireland or whatever, they can't fight back. I'm not saying it was about that. It was about greedy English people. But do you know what I mean? That's the thing. They're going after the things that they can control us with. If you're an independent sovereign being and you've got a farm or a homestead, you've got your own access to water, you've got your own access to food, you've got a small community around you, you're isolated, you don't need anybody else. What are they going to fucking do? Nothing. You've got a gun, you've got your carrots, you've got whatever, you've got everything that you need. Do you know what I mean? And it's all about control. And that's the thing. They're doing the same thing in England. They've brought in this thing called like an inheritance tax. It's basically pricing farmers. So when the old farmers are dying, they're taking like huge big sums of money off them and pricing them out of their livelihood essentially. Big supermarket chains, for instance, as well. I know of a chap not far from here, and he had a mushroom farm. Asda, one of the big supermarkets. I don't know if I can say that on here, but this is allegedly. That's how I get around it. Allegedly, what they did was they offered him this big contract to produce these mushrooms. And they bought so many after him for the first year, and it was great. And then the second year, they didn't buy any off him. But within the contract that he signed with them, it actually said that he was not allowed to sell his mushrooms to anywhere else, only this particular supermarket. And what they did is they put him out of business and bought his farm at a reduced price because he was going out of business, and then produced their own mushrooms essentially. So they bum buggered him. And this is what they do. And it's all like the system is set up to keep us small. They don't pay farmers the proper prices for milk. They pay them like pennies and then inflate the prices that sells to the customer. We can't get raw milk from farmers. They make it really, really difficult. And it's all these little things that we've got to kind of circumnavigate. And I really like what you were saying, Spinger, because basically what we've got to do is tell them just to fuck up and just do what we want to do anyway. They're not in control of us. It's just like, fuck you. you're not going to starve me to death. You're not going to charge me to breathe my own air that's, provided by Mother Earth. Fuck off, basically.
That's the
Beautifully
plan.
put.
Yes.
Like even like I'm starting a farmer's market tomorrow, and yeah, it's probably risky, but I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I'm keeping track of things, and if they want to come after me, then I have everything documented. Otherwise, I'm marching to my own drum, because like the land thing, like talking about government overreach, like that's just one area in my life personally. I've been dealing with overreach, like even in regards to parenting, but we won't get into that. So where I'm at, like I just have a big old middle finger, and I'll deal with it like I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, because I've learned, like from the other experiences, like living scared of what they might do to you, you're not living. So you just go and do your thing. If you're not harming anybody, then what does it flippin' matter?
Yes, and that's exactly what anarchy truly should be. Like when we call ourselves anarchists, this is simply all it requires now, is just living an authentic, true life, despite and going against the fire that'll come at you. And that's why I love the idea we all were, when you and Dawn were talking your plans, and we're like, you should film it from the get-go, make it a YouTube thing, keep it live broadcasted, and then if cancel and nullify, hopefully nothing does, just standing forward will create an energy already to protect you. But if it does, you have live documented evidence. You can help at least make people aware of every little micromanaging thing they do. It's insane. And it's in degrees. Like America, you like we heard, you just had to pretend you had a gun and they get off the land. But and here it's, I've heard, not as bad. England, even worse, with the tightening on the very levels that we have going on. So Sarah, as a fellow American, what are your thoughts on the control of the government, and specifically, as originally mentioned, people like Bill Gates and China buying up a lot of the American land to just hold that control for who knows what nefarious plot they might have?
Well, I think it sucks. I think that we should be allowed to live our lives the way that we want, and not be controlled by other people. And as long as you're doing your own thing, and not harming anyone else, you deserve to be able to live your life how it makes you happy.
Yeah,
I agree.
great.
I was thinking the other day, it astonishes me how many laws we have that are just ridiculous. It's like, why do you need to have that micromanagement going on? Because, anything that you do that isn't harming someone should be okay, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we've got laws against things that grow naturally on the earth. There are cities that have laws against having a garden. And clearly that's designed to keep people powerless. And I'm like, why are we acquiescing to all of these ridiculous laws? I mean, what point is there to having all these laws? And one of the points is that if you violate them, you have to pay money. You get a citation. Oh, you went 5 miles over the speed limit, or whatever. 20 miles over the speed limit, I don't care, whatever. But it's like, it's just so they can collect money from us. It's literally the bullies beating up the kids on the playground so they can have more money and more control. And it's absurd. I mean, that's a psychosis, having to control people to that extent.
I hear the mafia runs that way too.
I think you've got to be mentally ill to comply, really, haven't you, and not see a problem with it. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I can agree to the literal thing of bullies. Like as a kid that got bullied by the stereotypical bullies, That was exactly it. There'd be rules, and you better, like, silly rules too, just for dominance. You better not say this. Kind of like Mean Girls. You don't wear pink on Fridays. It would other rules, but like there was these stupid arbitrary rules that if I broke, they got to sit on me or whatever. Like the thing was that like, and I would like comply though because I was the little runt and they were bigger, and like I would comply, and that's just how they get us with fear tactics and keeping us too controlled by fear, which leads us to our next topic. If this is the one you want to touch on, Raquel, she mentioned the cabal in our topics for today. And I was huge into the cabal rabbit hole once upon a time. I've only stopped like being so surrounded in the effects it has because of I don't want to drown in it. And simply becoming sovereign, discerning human beings is one of our best protections against most nefarious plots. But Raquel, illuminate us on this cabal link in these chains.
Okay, so it's very important for us to be aware that there is a cabal on the planet that has been trying to disconnect us from our planet. Okay, it's not like it really is not scary to know this information. It actually empowers you to be aware of it, because once you become aware that there's a force that is really has taken humanity and kind of flipped us inside out, you start to realize and you start to be like, okay, this is what happened. This is why I'm living like this. This is why I'm driving a car, you know, when I'm really not even supposed to be driving a car. My good friend, he's like, Raquel, these cars are death metal boxes. The amount of trauma that you put on a person when you get to your destination, it's not healthy. It's so bad for our auras. It's so bad for our spirits. We really are not supposed to be traveling like this. So you almost have to, it's hard because, you know, people don't want to realize that there's a dark force on the planet, and that means, you know, everything I know is actually wrong and I'm wrong. And that's hard for the ego. You have to kind of go through your dark night of the soul and realize, like, yeah, I am wrong about things and I need to relearn the truth. And that's okay. It's not the scariest thing in the world. It actually is the most beautiful thing in the world when you start to wake up to it, because then you start to take your power back. Just like the people over in Russia, that whole movement of humans that are reconnecting to their land, which is what the cabal did not want. They wanted us disconnected from the land, because when you're disconnected from the land, you're disconnected from yourself, because it's one and the same. We are the wind, we are everything. We are the birds and the trees and everything, the water, all of it's us. There's this huge, beautiful, harmonizing balance between humans and their planet, just like all the other species out in the galaxy and them and their planets. There's a harmonizing, we like alchemize, like it's so beautiful. But when we're disconnected from that, we get turned into robots. Like you go to Texas and it's concrete jungle everywhere, and it's just big box stores and water parks and movie theaters, and nothing is spiritual, nothing is like feeding you. It's all artificial. And they wanted us to become artificial, because the more artificial we become and disconnect from our planet, we don't hear, they're laughing at us. You don't hear the still small voice. You don't hear your intuition. You don't have your powers activated. You become disconnected. You become robots, right? Just slaves to the system, 9-to-5 job, you know, working, money. And you just become drained. And then guess what? That transhumanism just keeps on sneaking in, and then you eventually become numb, and then there's total control over a whole civilization on a whole entire planet. That was their goal, to be able to control us completely. And I know it sounds like a fairy tale or a nightmare, but we have to face this, because the sooner we face it, the more we stand in our power. And then you go get your land and you say, fuck you, I'm going to have my land and you can get off my property. Like, this is not your land. This is all of our land, right? So it's just making us recalibrate back to who we are, our authority, our power. And we have to be aware, because they didn't want us to be aware of it. They hid in plain sight. That's how naive we are, because we're just pure. We just want to go and create. That's it. Ashiana Dean said that. She said it
Yeah.
beautifully. She said, we're just these naive beings who just want to have fun and create and love and experience. And they knew that they capitalized and took advantage of it. But no more, no more.
And they, to the very last detail, because even your shoes disconnect you from the earth. You have chakras in your feet that connect directly to the earth. And when you are grounded in the earth in your bare feet, you are directly connected to the earth, and you're healing your body and bringing all this energy up. But no, you got to wear shoes. No shoes, no service.
I mean, sleeping in a bed. We're not supposed to sleep in beds, guys. Like sleeping on a mattress, your body never gets to decompress. Like it always feels like it's on a cloud, so it never gets to just. So we are sleeping in coffins. Like that's how inside out. I know it's hard to believe, but it's like it's so
I've always
fucked up.
felt a resonance with the vampire thing, the whole vampire storyline. I was just connected to it. And the sleeping in coffins. There's so many things, stealing other people's energy. There's so many things that the human is actually the vampire.
I mean, there's so many examples. I know y'all probably know so many, but I mean, taking, even we're not supposed to bathe as much as we do. Not that water is bad, but like the vitamin D gets on your skin and it takes a couple days to even, I know they say it's a hormone, but it also is, like on you, and it needs to absorb into you. And every day, if you're showering, you're wiping that off. And I mean, it's everything. And it's so crazy that they were able to like pull it off. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, sometimes I just sit and I'm like, wow, I really am awake in the dream.
It's true. And it's why I'm suspicious of any ascension plot that we hear where Earth is going to die and we're going to go off in some kind of spaceship. Anybody that thinks that we're going to abandon Earth at any point in time is not my form of ascension. Because like you were saying early on, Raquel, we are linked with Mother Earth. We are linked with Gaia. Why would we leave her? We are her. These flesh suits are Gaia. So if we were to get in spaceships and explore, Gaia would be doing great. It wouldn't because she's doing bad. It'd because she's doing so great. She's flourishing and expanding. And that's the only ascension that's on my highest timeline. Because I hear in the ascension narratives that and as like a positive, oh, don't worry. And it's like, no. Because any point where we have to rely on somebody else coming down to us, or even relying on our own technology saving us, that's not an ideal ascension to me. But Samantha, what are your thoughts here on this whole entire narrative that we're bringing forth?
I mean, again, Raquel, you always say such insightful things. I really want to go back to the numbing out, because that's the big thing for me. That's how they get your consciousness in a box, essentially. So you're disconnected from Earth, like we talked about. You've got the soles in your shoes. We're not in resonance with the Schumann. The Schumann resonance is our natural frequency. That's what we're meant to be kind of like vibrating at, the same resonance as that. We're surrounded by Wi-Fi, like you said, the cars, which is really interesting, actually. Is that all cars, Raquel, or was it just the ones with like the electronics?
No, all cars, because we're not supposed to travel like this. We can bilocate.
Right, so going back to that, right, okay. So I get where you're going with that. So it's remembering who we are, essentially, isn't it? And all these gifts that we've got, like bilocation, telepathy, all that jazz. We're not going to have that because we're not in resonance with who we really are. And the numbing out is what we do as a form of coping. So when you're sat on your phone all day, again, surrounded by EMF, but you're distracted, and this is the thing, because things are becoming more and more intense, and I'm just going to say it, absolutely flat out crazy. I look outside my window, and I just think the world is an absolute fucking dumpster fire. Sometimes, it's beautiful, but some of the stuff that's going on is downright mind-boggling. And the only reason that we've not had a mass awakening at this point, in my own opinion, is because people are so numbed out. It's like a drug. That's why you take a drug. It's because you can't look at reality. You can't accept it. Same with drink, smartphone addiction. It's all checking out. It's because we can't be with who we are. We can't live with the decisions that we're making. We can't be fully present with the lives that we're living. We live in square fucking boxes. I'm sorry, I keep swearing. It's an emotive topic for me. We live in these square boxes. And even I was 16 thinking, why do people live in these square boxes? It just seems really, really bizarre. And there's a guy called John Bavanko, and he's a remote viewer, and he talks about the natural symmetry of nature. And I've spoken about this before. And the way that it's like the Fibonacci spiral, the way that nature's constructed, it does something to our brains. It basically reprograms our brains to be in like a natural resonance with it. So when we're in man-made structures 24/7, it's like we're in these artificial boxes and we can't think properly. And this is what's just, it disconnects us from our knowing, our intuition. And that's what we really need to get back to. And that's the big thing with the earth. Like you said, Raquel, she's Mother Gaia. She is our mother, our first mother, just like the sun is our first father in the shamanic tradition. And it's connecting back into these spirits. It's going to get us back into our intuition, back into our knowing, and back into the collective consciousness that is humanity, because we all share it. We're all conscious, empathetic beings. We all share that resonance. So even if you're in a cardboard box, you're still connected on some level. It's just finding that again, and that's how we break out of this thought loop. I really do think, because that's what kind of in this controlled thought loop, it's getting back to who we really are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully put, and 100%. Our true alignment would align with both the sun and the earth. It would be that complete middle pillar access, but beyond to the earth, her ascend with the sky changing. Oh, pardon?
Oh, sorry.
Did I cut out? I was going to say, just as we see the sun in the sky ascending with us, we're going to see the earth herself. Like, there's rumors of new species, new plants a lot of us hadn't heard of that just seem to be discovered, or just all of a sudden part of the timeline. And I think a lot's going to have to do with that. Same with stargates and things like that. They'll just start to be like, oh, what? That was always here, But speaking on the structures that we live in that you mentioned there, Samantha, Kyla, another thing to dive into here with you and Dawn planning on building your house and just starting this thing. I keep going back to this because it's such a dream for us all to have that kind of life. And you guys are really on the precipice there of starting. What shape are you thinking of building your house? And are you going to include any of these known geometry things that we're coming into with how we should actually be structuring our houses?
It really depends on how things go. We've talked about a lot of different ideas. Well, actually, on the weekend we were trying to put together like an idea of how we can incorporate the barn and the house all together to keep the animals warmer and make it accessible. Like we were talking about putting having the barn on the lower floor and proper ventilation, of course, and then possibly having our living quarters a couple of stories up, and then being able to just access. Whether or not that works, so it's a good idea, I don't know. And we're just keeping an eye open. When we look at listings, the first thing I look for is, does it have a water source? Is there a cistern? Is there a well? Is it if it's on municipal water, out of question, we don't want it. I've had problems with water my whole life. So we lived on a well, but we lived in cottage country, and so they would lower the lakes every year for the boats, and we would end up without water. So water is a big deal. And then we are looking at land space, but as far as an actual structure, we're still tossing out ideas. And frankly, this conversation is, it's something Dawn and I will be revisiting, because I've seen in regards to the pole, I think they're pole homes, or they're domes or whatever. There's so many. We've even talked about hobbit holes, burrowing into the ground and doing it that way. So really the sky's the limit for us. We haven't really zeroed in, because there's a lot of things up in the air right now.
Yeah, and the hobbit hole would probably be the more feasible way to cheapness wise, I can't think of a nicer word, to actually be able to get it all done as you do the montage of improving it year after year. and starting and growing with that. I like the idea of connecting to the animals. That would just be a dream. And then you can open it up and let the goats in sometimes. Like we talk about that with our kids, like just building a tunnel to another, like building another structure instead of adding on to the actual house because of, again, the bureaucracy, but making instead like a shed and then making a tunnel to the shed, but really just being an addition to the house and then cutting through all the bureaucracy because it's nuts. And I've heard of other people calling their second houses sheds and getting the green light on that and then making it into a house after because they have to build the preliminary shed, but then once they have the green light they go ahead and secretly build it as a house inside that because it's just, I don't know, I'm sure it's not exactly the same between Ontario and Alberta, and if I had to guess I bet Alberta's a lot more free than Ontario.
Oh my goodness. It seriously is like two different countries. Like even here, like and like we're talking about housing and stuff. In Ontario, like even the small town that I grew up in, like they would not, like you weren't allowed to have a camper on your property that you own, that you're paying taxes on, and have people live in it. You're not allowed. But meanwhile,
What?
here in Alberta,
That's crazy.
Yeah, they did that here too. Same thing. That is so crazy to me that they tried to stop that here. And actually, right now, same thing. Yeah.
But 2 doors down, there's this less than desirable neighbor that like they'll stay in their single wide in the winter, and then in the summertime he'll just park his truck and have the trailer on the side of the road, like they're actually living in the trailer, like parked out in front of their house. So you want to talk about like the contrast is like it's huge. And you know, like I get it, but like it's, yeah, anyway, that's a whole other rant, but like it's, you're absolutely right. Like I knew Ontario was a police state, but until I moved out here, it's like, oh my goodness, it's wild. It was one of the best moves that we ever made because we also don't have the federal sales tax, or no, we just have federal sales tax. So we're paying 5% sales tax as opposed to 13% in Ontario. That alone right there, huge difference.
Yeah,
Wow.
that adds on, especially when you get the bigger ticket items. Sarah,
Like
what is your, yeah. Sarah, what are your thoughts on our original Get Back to Nature theme here, especially in Florida? I'm assuming it's pretty busy where you are. So how do you connect with nature? And I know you're close to the ocean. You'd have to be somewhere in Florida. And I love your beautiful sun picture behind you as well.
To work it out, to get to the beach at some point. We tried to go like the other day, but the storms were really bad and it was kind of off and on. So it's been a little bit frustrating lately because we've really wanted to get out there, but you know, there's been a lot of storms lately. In fact, sometimes you'll look on the Weather Channel and it won't say it's going to storm, and then all of a sudden there'll be storms. So even sometimes when it's sunny out, it'll just all of a sudden there's going to be a storm. So we've been dealing with that for the last like couple weeks, and then we have a pool in the community, but we were trying to get out there the other night, or no, we were actually we didn't think last night to go because we just assumed it was going to storm again. So it's been a little tricky lately trying to get out there. But I, at least, even if we haven't been able to get to the beach or anywhere like that lately, I've been trying to be more proactive at just, going outside and, putting my feet in the grass for a little bit. I've kind of been trying to do more of that and do some more like sun gazing when I think of it. Just little things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really good, because I think it's the small things that make the big difference, isn't it? Like you said, getting up and, you know, watching the sunrise. I'll be honest, I'm not doing it at the moment because I'm not getting up at 4:10. And that's just not going to fucking fly. But I will watch the sunset. But it goes back to that circadian rhythm, doesn't it? And that's another way that they knock us out, because there's loads of health problems that are related to that. You know, once you've knackered all that up, because it's all comes from the pineal as well, which is like the seat of our knowing, isn't it? It's our visual third eye. So yeah, all that stuff's amazing for getting back inside.
And the food, like
Yeah.
our circadian rhythm is supposed to be linked up with the way we eat. Like we're supposed to eat with the sun going up and down, and we really are not supposed to eat these meals like we do, like this 3 meals a day. You know, I know y'all all know that that's bogus, but we really are supposed to eat with the sun coming up and down. That's like just little bits here and there, and then just grazing throughout the day, almost like animals. Like if you see squirrels, they're kind of just throughout the day, you know, or the crows show up, they eat a little bit. Our food was never like, I know there's so much beauty in food and sharing and, you know, coming together and the love, but all that was kind of artificially created, unfortunately. And that's going to be a really hard one for people, because that really does bring people together. But I think we'll start to kind of transition that out, because we'll just start eating little bits here and there and start eating like what we grow. Opposed to like a big meal that you go to a restaurant, like, you know, even the restaurant stuff, like that's something outside of us as well, unfortunately. And you know, these are hard truths that are really sad at the end of the day. And I think it's hard for people, but our circadian rhythm is very, very important. It is what keeps us like connected to the cosmos and the planet. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Sam. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Brilliant.
I know.
Yeah, 100%. And connecting to nature is what the divine feminine really is anchored for. Like the masculine brings the clarity, it brings the driving force to really get stuff done and quickly. But we have it to thank for all technology and the advancement in the world. So there's a reason that they say higher divine, of why the feminine was turned down. It was so we could rapidly evolve. But we are, and this goes into our balance with nature, we are, according to Rupert Sheldrake, closer related to the ape than different forms of fruit flies are to each other. That's like, it's a 99.9 something variance. That means we're not different. And I've always had this intuition. When people talked, I got in one of my biggest fights with my ex-boyfriend, like back in high school or after high school, but over apes. And he fancied himself intelligent, and I couldn't explain myself, but I was sure. He thought I was arguing evolution from a religion standpoint. I'm like, hello, I'm the one raised atheist, and you have no idea where I'm coming from. And I couldn't explain myself. Back then it was Diana Facts. But I just knew that we did not evolve from apes. We are rapid transitions, best called a cousin. And it's very clear that basically a divine higher soul has decided to use an ape's body to acclimate itself to be alive in this world, to be flesh and physical in this world, how the humanoid was essentially created with different variants. The fact that we are that closer than other fruit flies, like think about it. Like that was a bit of cognitive dissonance and like a whoa moment, because that's not nothing. That's like people like, oh yeah, we're kind of related. No, we're more than that. We are them, but with this divine overlay upon us. And that makes us this is why our bodies are such animals. We are extreme animals, but we have that divine soul, and the divine feminine is the one connected deeper to Mother Earth. And so in that comes the responsibility from the divine feminine to start not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. The masculine age that brought us all this technological advancement, we can pick and choose what still suits us as we slowly phase back. Like Raquel was saying, like we should be able to just basically teleport to other locations, bilocational, like where you can, like the Jedis, send yourself out to mind fight somewhere, or we can find portals and actually switch
Yeah.
locations. There's there's multiple different ways that we can switch. There's so many different ways that we can get food through energy, and there's so many different ways we can find community, like creating psychic connections and being together, perhaps like we are right now, where we can bring the special without eating so much, where we can bring the technological advances we really have gone accustomed to, because they do advance us. And I think that the overall divine did want us to advance and advance, but that doesn't mean completely throw out the soul that we were put here for, nor does it mean solely be just the animal that we started as. So let's just go around the board. We'll start with Kirsten. What are your thoughts here on what the divine feminine can do to bring forth the new age in as much, not going backwards, but going forward as true nature?
Wow, that's a huge question, Diana. I think that the divine feminine, first of all, needs to reconnect with the earth in whatever way, because that is the first and foremost thing, connecting to the earth. And I believe that also the divine feminine needs to step into more leadership roles, because I think that, and I love men, okay? I love men. But I feel like, and I've talked about this before with both Diana and Sam, I really do feel, I read this book called The Women of Lemuria, which was a channel from Cryon. And it was about how when civilization was first seated on this planet, the women were, I won't say, they weren't the tyrannical leaders that we are accustomed to now, but they would guide. They would provide the guidance, and the men would provide the action and so it was a symbiotic relationship where the divine feminine was guiding, and the men were following what the guidance told them, rather than saying, oh no, we're going to do it this way. And that's not to say, I'm not sure that we want to go back to that either. I think, though, that we really need to step up, though, and start really helping, really being more proactive in helping guide things. Because when we sit back and we say, well, because I think a lot of the things we've been taught are feminine, are an inversion, just like everything in this world. And it's like, I talked to Raquel and I'm like, oh gosh, everything is an inversion, everything. So part of that is the feminine nature being, it is the receiving nature. It is the creative nature. But it is not the sit back and just be meek nature. I think we need to stop, and I think we have, for a lot of us have anyway, stopped sitting back and just being meek. But I also don't resonate with we have to rule everything and we're powerful and screw the men because they're jerks. Yeah, it doesn't resonate either. We need to go forward more in partnership, though, and we need to be equal partners, and we also need to be given the authority that we need to take the authority that we really ought to have as divine feminine, because in general, and of course there are always exceptions, a woman's intuition is much deeper and much more refined than the male intuition. And that's not to say that men can't do that either. I'm just saying that in general, it's more in our nature to listen to our intuition. So, yeah.
I completely agree. Raquel, what are your thoughts on how the female can be the leader into making nature part of our future in a realistic way, but also an ascending way?
Well, I think it's basically everything we've been talking about here. The more we get back to base, and base is not boring. So I think in the beginning of my awakening, I thought, I don't really want to be a gardener. I don't really want to be just doing that all the time. But it's not even really like you're doing that. We don't even really have to do that. Like, we can have land and not even have to be working our butts off all the time. We could actually be experiencing what the land has to offer instead of us thinking that we need to control the land and have a giant vegetable bed here and a giant, stream here or whatever. I think we could harmonize with it instead of making it be what we want. Like, instead of tilling the land, actually, let's grow our vegetables in the weeds, because all those weeds have so much genetic cosmic information that when the tomatoes are growing by the Florida Bethany, they're transferring galactic codes, so those vegetables grow to be like the most juiciest tomatoes ever. You know what I mean? So I think we just have to change our way of thinking, because we've been so programmed that everything needs to be perfect. But nothing is perfect. Everything is perfectly imperfect. And with women and men, like, the only reason why we think that we need to like one up each other is because that thought was put in our head. Okay, there is a balance between women and men. We can live on this planet together. We were never even supposed to have a protector, because we are supposed to be with our bears. We're supposed to be with the wolves. We're supposed to be with the tigers. Like, we're not supposed to have a protector to protect us from them. That's all bullshit. That's all history that was tweaked and turned and twisted to make us think that we're separate from nature, when we are nature. We are, like, the birds can actually lift us up and take us for a flight. You know what I mean? Like, there's a balance there when we get back to base, and we got to get back to base. And I agree, like, there's so many psyops, especially the thing with the feminism and all that. It's all a psyop. Like, women need to be slapped around a little bit by us. Like, we got to be the ones to call women out. Like, God, women, stop doing this. Stop, just be. You don't need all this makeup. You don't need all this stuff. You don't need to be, chasing men around. You don't need to be, whatever's going on with OnlyFans. You don't need to do any of that. You are sex. Your body is sex. Honor it, protect it, love it. Don't procreate with people who have a sick mind that want to go out and kill, like army. All of it, war would stop if women would just say, I'm not gonna sleep with men who are in the military. I'm not gonna sleep with a man whose brain thinks that way. We could stop war like that, but it has to be the women that decide to start honoring themselves and their thinking. And it's work. It's not easy. We have to accept that we are inside out. And that's really hard for most people because they're so programmed. So I just like to share, that message, because that's a deep one and it puts a lot on women. But I know that we're strong enough. I know we can do it. And I mean, we have the codes in us. And we lived like Adam and Eve were just in the garden having fun, loving the animals, swimming, experiencing, living off the air. The air was so clean and healthy. They didn't even have to eat. How cool. Like, we can get back to that just in time. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Is Diana frozen?
Diana, you're
I think Diana, you're frozen. I agree.
I'm glad I'm back, because I wanted to see, what's funny about everything you said, Raquel, is that pairs in, or not everything, but the part there about the feminine, masculine, and about women in war, because we don't realize that women's opinion matters to men as much as it does. And this is why we used to get slapped. It's because our opinion mattered so much. And then they were trained and brainwashed themselves to think our opinion is stupid, yet at the same time, they have the instinct to think it really matters. So imagine how much that twists them up. And then you go over to the feminine and the bloodlust. So why the animals turned against us. We were, what the exact story is, we can't be sure, but we were definitely somehow tweaked or tricked into killing the animals first. Yeah. And then the way these things work, with the way collective consciousness among animals work, is you kill one somewhere, doesn't matter where it is in the world, they all know.
They're all connected. They have an oversoul. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. And then for some reason, so the men start doing the killing, but then the women are also just as, I want to say they're just as violent, but in their own feminine way. Like the femme fatale archetype, or also the ones that actually lust after dangerous men? Why is the bad boy always the sought after one, like the secret murderer, but I could fix him? But honestly, she needs to look at her own darkness, and that's always what those stories is about, because she herself has callings to that, and that's why she wants the male counterpart that holds that. And that's just such a huge thing within our collective consciousness. There's so many twistings of the narratives that come through in our archetypes, and when we see them clearly, and when we see what our truth is clearly, we can start to see what needs to go and what can stay. Like, because we can have heart passionate instincts that will be fierce, like we were saying, like we're a female, hear me quote unquote roar, except it needs to be from that female place. The earth herself, feminine, she creates earthquakes, she creates volcanoes, tornadoes, floods. That's all from a female. So the female herself is capable of power. Like when we cry, that's a hurricane, you know what I mean? When we rage, that's a volcano. Like, we have our own power that does not require bloodshed, and we are actually the emotional ones. So this is just a theory. But if the female was allowed to let out her violent and ridiculous emotions that were shamed out of her long ago, the man might not have to pick up the lost and regressed torment in the collective that's coming from the over emotional feminine. And he could just be strong, seeing it come out of the outlet. It was meant to come out. It was meant to come out of the feminine. It's not meant to come out of the masculine. That's why it gets really twisted up and far more violent.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just touch on something there, actually, Diana, about the violence? Because, I mean, I'm not sure how true this is, but this is just something I've come across and I'm working on at the moment, like unpicking, as we know, what I'm like with these ideas. But women bleed every month. We just naturally bleed. This is the thing. And men don't. And it's almost like men have this bloodlust because they don't bleed. And it's almost like we're in this competition, you know, like we need the blood, so we need to go out and like have a war or whatever. Whereas women are just naturally like, because we're meant to menstruate, and it's a bit, not everybody's into this, but we're meant to menstruate into the earth basically, and that's how we connect into it as well. Because that's like pure creation. Like, people don't realize how potent our you know, our menstruation is. You know, if you go into like the magical elements of it, you know, we've all seen the spells going around, haven't we? And putting a bit of like whatever in people's food and stuff. I've never done that. I never would, but I know it is a thing that some women do. And it's, you know, this is how powerful it is. So I do kind of feel like there's a bit of competition there. And it's maybe like the men just need this blood, and it's like some sort of, I don't know how they've been cut off from it, or I don't know. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. I've actually heard such theories before, and I could never remember from where, but I know I've read that elsewhere, that the men bloodlust comes from the fact that we bleed, so they need to spill as equal amount blood. I don't know. I would definitely say it's tied in, but everything in reality is so layered. So many things are layered. And I would absolutely say, I want to say the perversion of the menstruation system definitely creates that, because there's this shaming around it. Because like, just going back to my grandma's time, right? She was never told about her period. And when she got it, she was yelled at and not told like what to do. She wasn't given any help. And it was this big point of shame that she repeated this story frequently. It was part of her schizophrenic narrative. Like, it haunted her that badly, the shame around it. And I know she wasn't alone in that system. Not to mention the systems they gave them to take care of it. Like, there was a few decades there where having, or it could be centuries, where having your time was absolutely diabolical, where in going back even earlier times in tribalism, like the kind of things like, would they stay in the ocean, just sit on the earth and let it happen naturally? Like, what's to be done to fix that situation in a modern world? And then there's the higher theories that we don't need to menstruate as often as we do. If we get in a full alignment, we can control when we want to have children and turn it on and off. So there's so many layers there of the past and the future. It's a good point.
Heard that though, about like the menstruation thing, like we're not actually meant to menstruate like every month. It's meant to be like once a year or something stupid like that, you know. And also just going back to like the menstrual blood, and like when we bleed into the soil, if you put your menstrual blood in your plant, it's literally feeding them. So the things that are going to grow are going to be like more abundant and more like nutritionally like tailored to your own body, basically. It's like when you lick the seeds.
Mm-hmm. I
I heard
completely agree.
Sam. I want to add to that. I had to pop out for a minute, but I kind of know what you are talking about intuitively. And what I learned recently is we really did only have a period once a year, and it was usually around wintertime. So you would birth your baby in the spring, and the animals will help you birth your baby. So part of our fall and disconnect from all the Mother Gaia and all the elements and everything that we are. That's why that changed, and we have it every month now and all that. So that's part of our healing, and we probably will get back to that because everything will start to change. All of our anatomy will start to kind of self-correct. So that's one thing I learned recently. So
yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's funny about you talking about the self-correcting anatomy, because people thought it was a bit of a Mandela effect, but the heart's actually moved, doesn't it? So that's also makes you think, is that part of it as well? You know, like, are we just naturally moving back into alignment, and it's not actually a Mandela effect? It's just the bodies are just coming more back into their natural state of being.
I think it is. I think it all. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I wanted to add something to this thing about violence, because I think that, you know, I recently read a book called The Mists of Avalon, which was, it's a novel, but it was about how the goddess was subverted and how Christianity took over. And the thing is, when you create, say you want to have the males dominate, first you've got to create something for them to react against. And apparently, and I really think this may be true, at the end of the age, when you know we were descending into Kali Yuga and the goddess was going down, basically, they had rituals that involved going out in the woods, and the man would kill a stag with his bare hands, and then he would rub blood all over himself and all over the woman, and they would have sex as the god and goddess with this blood all over them. And I really think that that may have been one of the tipping points and one of the things that caused more depravity in this world, because if you look at that, you know, and of course it also brings us into the crucifixion and all of this blood that, you know, and that's a whole other topic, isn't it? Because we have actually been raised on religions that require blood sacrifice. And so I think that's part of what happened to really twist us, was that blood sacrifice. And you can put it under the guise of the goddess or the male deities. It really, and you know, even when we talk about eating, it's a sacrifice. Whether you eat plants or animals, something has to sacrifice its life energy to you. And if you really consider that, why would that be necessary? If we're divine beings and we're emanations of God, why would we need other divine beings that are an emanation of God just to have energy? We should have it naturally. Like Raquel was saying, we should have it just by breathing the air and having our feet on the earth. And you know, we probably wouldn't have to eat if we were more connected.
100%. And you could see how like the fall was really a trickle. Like it might have been a sped up time period, just like now and in the ascension, but it was like one sin after another, and they accumulated and it grew in the collective consciousness until all of a sudden we were a planet of sin. But let's take it to Kyla here. What are your thoughts there with the divine feminine and how we can birth it through with our power and our intuition and knowledge into the world realistically, but also in an ascension manner?
I think a lot of it is healing our own stuff. I think that's the start. Like, it's really interesting because, like, for me, the campaign in my life, I was actually supposed to be a man hater, and I've got a lot of examples. My father's family like my grandfather and father and my brother is followed up suit. The misogyny is just, I don't like using that word because it's been overused and it's been thrown around and all that. And so I had to do a lot of like work with myself and to bring in the balance. And that's why Dawn and I work the way that we do, is because I worked first on balancing myself and healing everything. And I think I don't know, like it kind of seems like the consensus here, I think a lot of us are being called back to nature and being connected with nature. And I know, like, for me, like, I'm not, like, technology has its time and its place, but like when Raquel was talking about the like with her awakening, and like at first, like, I'm not so keen on gardening. um I get it, but I feel like as time goes on, there's more for me, a call back to that. But I actually also wanted to address that too. Just because, like, if gardening's not your thing, or looking after animals isn't your thing, or you don't like cooking, this is also the part where I think the divine feminine, like, as we heal, there's going to be a lot more community. And so if you don't like cooking, you're going to connect with somebody. If you don't like gardening, you're going to connect with somebody that likes doing it. And then you can swap out if you want. Like, okay, like, if you grow me some tomatoes, I'll whip up some tomato sauce. And if you give me a few, and then there's your tomatoes. You don't have to lift a finger. I think, and I can see a lot of that happening, like, just community, like in the last week or so. Like, I was preparing for my husband's best friend to come out and, like, to come visit. Like, he's from Ontario. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do? I made some barbecue sauce, I made some sourdough buns, and the crew that we were with just absolutely loved it. And that just fired me up. And I got thinking, like, this is something I'm starting to yearn for community. And if somebody doesn't want to do that stuff, then I'll do it. If you have sheep and you don't know how to spin yarn, hey, I got you. Throw me some fleece, I'll knit you a sweater.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I was, funny enough, having in my own way, because I'm not a cooker or a gardener, is just thinking earlier that, like, we could make community of all of us writers here that are starting to produce stuff and advertise for each other. Like, no charge, but just you advertise for me, I advertise for you, or even different people's shamans work and mediums and all the ways it works in this business. Start, like, advertising for each other and just trading that as, like, the olden day bartering system of the internet, and just a way to form community and to have it be pure and as heart aligned as it can be, but still progressing. So I agree with everything you said completely there, Kyla. And then Sarah, what are your thoughts for taking the divine feminine, using its power to push forward the future in an aligned way, a cleansing way, and also a way for the ascension?
Well, I just want to say that I agree with everyone as far as, like, balance, making sure the feminine and the masculine energies are balanced. I know that for me, being, like, more newly awakened, I've had to really do a lot of work on myself. And a lot of it is what I've learned what I've been trying to do is something that just now at age 46, I'm just now learning how to practice self-love. I grew up in an environment that was was negative. There was a lot of negativity and self-loathing. And so, I had a lot of negativity in my thoughts over the years. And I didn't even realize, I guess, that our words were so powerful. And, that's just something I'm, fairly recently learning more about. And so, I've been trying to, I'm trying to come up with my own I am affirmations. I've been trying to, sorry, I've got some little notes here because I have ADHD. And so sometimes I can get off track. But for a long time, I was judging myself a lot, and just had all that negativity in my head. And now at least I'm able to, when I recognize a negative thought pattern or a statement, or maybe I'm just stressed out about something, maybe it's just something dumb like driving, and I'm stressed out, I have taken a moment to pause and be like, okay, wait a minute. No, everything's fine. I am at peace here, and just, something simple, but just little things like that. And, just kind of trying to balance out the just make things more positive. And I used to write poetry a lot, and I've kind of gotten out of that, but I'm trying to tap back into my creativity. So anyway, sorry, I'm a little.
No, that was perfect. No, actually tapping into creativity is a huge thing, and it does come and it does go. And I even resonated with what you said about the negative thoughts and ADHD. I definitely have ADHD, and I definitely was brought up with a very negative father who just put everything in the biggest doom and gloom you could ever imagine. And then because of my own cocky teenage driving and crashing a bunch in the winter, which I thought was hilarious at the time because I was that kind of teenager. But then later, all of a sudden in my 20s, it all of a sudden, like the PTSD I had left encapsulated in that cocky teenager years exploded onto me. And I became like petrified of driving in the winter to having like my most horrible moments of driving in the snow. So there is so many ways that this negative energy can flood into us. And what you were saying there about developing your creativity in whichever way it comes out, well, that's one of those things AI is helpful with now, because for me, I was doing music, and then actually it just kind of got me back into poetry because I was also that kind of teenager. I had a blog with all my dark poems on them, and that was such an outlet for me, though. That was actually they took down MSN, and I was actually just so sad because there was a whole chunk of my life that was taken down with it that I just assumed was in the archives of the internet forever, and it's gone. So I only have a couple poetry books left from those times, but it was powerful, and it made me feel powerful and magic, and it does things to you when we bring forth our creativity. And for everybody, that's in different things. Some people, it is like gardening and cooking, like we were talking about before, also feminine, creative ways to come forward. But poetry, I know my sister painting, and Kirsten's got some beautiful paintings behind her. Another way we can bring forth that divine feminine creativity. So I have one last question for us, and this comes to us from Don, Kyla's husband. He wants to ask us, and we'll go around and answer, but how would the panel suggest the average male become more in touch with their feminine side if they feel overwhelmed with the masculine aspects of our roles? And that is very fair, because the male is getting more gentle, but in a way that's more authentic, because the way the man was like, I work and take care of family, and that's fine, that's my job, that's, and they didn't have emotions around it and overwhelm over how much of a big ask that is. Now that's actually brings the government into things, because I think we do need to return, like when it comes this, so I'm answering first. But But when it comes to working, which is first and foremost the biggest obstacle humans really have to work with besides our own minds. Okay, we get our own minds in order. Okay, we're thinking positively. Now we still have to go somewhere and earn money, or do we all? And that's where it comes in. If you can stomach a job, and if there's one you can do, fantastic. And by stomach, I mean truly enjoy. So I mean more than stomach, because you don't want to be spending the majority of your time in a place that's horrible. That's one way to heal the masculine right there. They need to find something that works with them, because men actually work off a work reward system. That's actually very good for the divine masculine, is work reward. Their testosterone system is orchestrated that way, 9 to 5. Well, actually sunrise, sundown. The testosterone system thrives off this kind of day to day work output system. It really does. But there needs to become a layer where you're your own boss, or you're at least in an environment where you know you matter. And however you do that is, some people can find themselves mattering in any 9 to 5, good. Some people need a creative outlet because they're more creatively inclined. Like, we have so many variations in this. But the divine masculine does need to acknowledge that their testosterone system is what's designed for that. That's why they're the provider. But when it comes to partnering, that's where things can get weird. And should the female work, I think the world would be a lot better off if on majority the females no longer were the ones responsible for money, because then they can turn around and go back to being responsible for the house like they used to be. And this is more than the house, and this does not mean we don't matter, though, because your entire household, your children, your gardens, your baking, your whatever, your community organizations, whatever the system is that particular female is doing, it can have many variables, just like the males will. And the partnership between the man and the woman will determine, like, we're getting a live viewing of your and Kyla's, which is beautiful, because it can start to help us plan these things. This is the dream, but it doesn't always work that way, because my husband is a manager in a hospital, and even Steven's wife works in a hospital. And you can call working in a hospital absolutely some kind of soul-led position, because hospitals take care of people, heal people. Hopefully they can start to bring truth into it. So, like, we're going to get into variables, but the divine masculines more in touch with their feminine side would actually come first by understanding the true masculine and what that really means in its alignment. So naturally being in touch with your feminine, will that help you? I honestly think getting in touch with the true masculine is actually will just naturally birth the feminine equally, because when one is balanced, when the masculine feels safe, and because I just know this from my own self as someone who's androgynous, when I became more on board with my divine feminine, it actually balanced out my masculine stuff naturally. As someone who is very, very fire, this was something I had to fix. So I would take the reverse, and by balancing out the divine masculine and exactly what that means, looks and feels, because that's the most important thing, because your divine masculine source is your highest form of energy for this vessel and for everything coming through to you with alignment. But whatever your actual gender is where, because when the yin and the yang, it has to lean slightly, or else you don't move, or else there's atrophy. So I just say it's probably smartest to go with your actual gender, lean towards that one, and then everything starts to just roll succinctly. But let's go to Kirsten and get her thought on this matter.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. And I think that's a really, really good point that you made. And I do have to go in a few minutes. I've got to go teach a yoga class. So thank you. I think that that some of the things that the men can do to get more in touch with their feminine side would be to create more, maybe paint, or whatever ways you like to create. I also think, I feel like men a lot of times don't have permission to be soft with themselves. Like to say, okay, well, I'm feeling a little bit tired today, so I would like to be able to be kind to myself and just maybe take a break, or you find ways to treat yourself softly. I think, because for me, I know when I'm getting in touch with my masculine side, I try to go into, well, what can I do for myself today? I'm going to fix the lock on my door. So think about the things that you would like a woman to do for you. And of course, Dawn has Kyla, so but think about the things you would like a woman to do for you. Think about the things that you really admire in women, and see if you can bring more of those into your own behavior and your own your own heart center and maybe do some of those things for yourself, or behave in those ways that just to kind of get you flowing with that feminine more.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thanks for joining us, Kirsten. I know you have to go soon. And for the same reason, I'm going to jump over to Kyla because I know you have to go soon and get Dawn from work. So what are your thoughts here on Dawn's question?
I'm a little biased because he's got this nailed. So I think, like, if you're in a relationship, I think it's like what I try to do is I try to give him a safe space where he can be himself. And I try to match his effort and just support him in the background. And so it comes back to, and this is logic. His hours are a little bit longer than mine, or they're more during the day, so I have a little bit more wiggle room. So I do things in the background to try to support him that gives him time just to free himself up. And I don't even know if it's about consciously getting in touch with the feminine side. I think it's more of being in a safe, supportive space where you can just be yourself, and the feminine parts of things will just come naturally. That's what I'm seeing with Dawn. Like when we first got together, I mean, out of the gate, things have been really pretty good. Like both of us, like we both came from dumpster fires. That's the easiest way to put it. And so I've tried very hard to keep things calm and neutral so that he can actually be himself. And for the guys that aren't in a relationship, this is the part: be yourself. Just be yourself. I think if there's something that is singing to your heart and you want to do it, and if it's creative, and it comes back down to if it's not hurting you and it's not hurting anybody else, go for it. Let her rip. If you feel like sitting down with a box of pencil crayons and a coloring book, just friggin' do it. It doesn't matter. Do what makes your heart happy. And I think if you just be yourself, and like you work on feeling safe being yourself, I think that balance is just going to come through on its own. Like that's what I saw with Dawn anyway.
Yeah, I love that. Like allowing men to be vulnerable, to completely just do what they please, to express their because it's going to look girly. You're girly, or that's just one of the PC words I'm allowed saying here. There's a lot ruder things a man could say to a man, or even a woman could say to a man when she sees him touching on those more feminine aspects, those softer aspects. So simply like allowing them that space to do that, and that's great. And you're still just as manly, you're still just as cool, and this is even going to make you cooler. Whatever's authentically called to you to do. If they want to bake, if they want to cook, like whatever it is that they feel like doing, if they want to do it, like celebrate that with them 100%, giving them that safe space. Let's jump up to Samantha. What are your thoughts here on this subject of Dawn's question?
Yeah, wow, you've all given such excellent answers, really. I want to come at it from a different angle, really. I want to come at it from the inverted male angle. I feel like there's so much pressure on men to be a certain way. I know you've all touched on that maybe it isn't that there's anything wrong with being a man. Maybe it's just the need, like you were saying, Diana, embrace it more. But I think the big thing is it's balancing the polarities, isn't it? If you look at it energetically, I know you've all given really good kind of like practical tips on how to be more in your feminine energy, which is all like to do with creativity and flowing. But the big one I really want to touch on is emotion, because I feel like a lot of men are shut down. Like you were saying, Diana, they get derogative slurs, don't they, or you puff or whatever. It's not nice, is it? But the thing is, a lot of the issues come from trauma. And I know Callie, you were saying, like when we've had difficult upbringings, especially I think for guys, they have it extra especially difficult because it's like they've got all this trauma, and women, you know, we'd get to a point where we can release it, we can cry, we can talk about it, whereas a lot of men shut down. There's a bit of a suicide epidemic among men as well, which I know a lot of people talk about, where they can feel really isolated. And a lot of the guys that I've kind of spoken to about this, you know, they don't have the same relationships with men that women have with other women. And I think that's the key issue, really. If they can learn to cultivate those closer relationships, because I think a lot of it comes down to societal pressures as well. They don't feel like they can be open as well. I think sometimes men can get in relationships sometimes and they're kind of like, these are the friends, you know? And then if that relationship is to break down or something like that, they've got no support network there. So I think one of the big tips that I would say is cultivate a support network, not just with men, you know, speak to women, because women are really great at understanding emotions, you know. And the thing is with the male side of things, going back to relationships, men we're expected to provide this safe container. Now, who's the safe container for the man? Where are they gonna, do you know? And that's the give and take. It's like, how do you provide that? And I really like what you were saying, kind of, I was saying, you know, does Dunn need some space? Does he need to go in his man cave or whatever for an hour and just decompress? Or do you know what I mean? It's that understanding between, you know, male and females. It isn't that men have got to be more feminine. It's just I think they need more support, and a bit more understanding and a bit more help to just express themselves, because that's the biggest issue that I find anyway between men and women is just a breakdown in communications. I think because we're coming at stuff from two different angles sometimes. It's like we need a bit of a translator, you know. So if we could learn to kind of communicate a little bit better, I think it's really going to help that. Is she gone?
That was good, Sam. All of y'all, all of those responses are amazing.
If find like the happier, like the more at peace he is, the happier he is, and it's just it's a perpetual motion. Like the safer he feels, you know, like if he's able to let her rip. And I own that, you know, like sometimes I do forget that he's not Superman.
We all do though, don't we? That's the thing. And that's, you know, we all have moments, and that's what I wanted to make a point of. We're all going to have times where we're going to need to break down, and we need our other person to be like, no, please don't take this personally. Please don't take this as a projection. Please don't take this as me diminishing your masculinity or whatever. It's me just having a meltdown because I'm an emotional woman, because we are emotional. Not all of us are as emotional as the other people, but we just need to express that. And likewise, when a guy comes in and is like, oh, do you know, it's a really shit day. It's just, can you stay in your, it's not personal to you, you know? So what's the point in having an argument over it?
Mm-hmm.
But then the issue comes in, you both had the bad day, and you're like, you know, and it's like, well, how can we navigate this? Because they're both a bit touchy. What do we do? But obviously, it's going to look different in every relationship, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
There, Diana?
Yeah, I froze for a minute there. Let's jump to Raquel then and get your thoughts on Don's question. What can the masculine do to get more in balance with the feminine?
Mm. Well, we're all kind of living inverted. So the women and the men, you know, the way we live, the way we work, what we do, how we react, everything has been, you know, it's all not really the way, unfortunately. So how do we get out of the way? Well, we got to acknowledge it. And I think one thing for men is if they can acknowledge, just like I had to, that I'm wrong, like I was duped, you know, like that's the first step. And I think when you realize that, then you can start doing your healing, reversing the trauma, because we've all been targeted and traumatized and hurt. And what has happened to humanity, like especially women. Like I felt bad for men, honestly, because the women are just so fake. And I hate to say that because I'm a woman, but I'm around so many women, and just the way they carry themselves, the stuff they think about, the stuff they say, like it's just, I'm trying not to judge, but like I have to be honest, it's not good. It's really bad. It makes us look really bad. And I feel bad for men that they have to deal with that now. I couldn't imagine dating in this world, I don't even, oh gosh, it's like, uh, women, we really need to like get our shit together. But the only way you can do that is you need to know what you really are, and you need to be open to what you really are. And then we will continue to heal. The men will continue to heal because the women are healing. So if the women start healing and recalibrating back to who they are, the men are just going to do it naturally because they are our other half. Like we are two in the same, but we're just two energies experience it differently. We're the only ones that decide to say, oh, you're better or you're better, or I'm worse, or, that was all like a trick, stupid. And just listening. Like, I don't think I don't think men have to always figure out everything. Like, that's another trick. Like, if my woman says something to me, I need to go figure out how to fix it, or I need to go fix that problem, or, handle that. And really, that's a matrix mindset. You don't need to figure it out. If I come to you and I say something to you, I actually just want to talk about it. I don't need you to fix my problem. I just want to share. That's it. Like, I'll figure it out, and just like you'll figure it out if something's up with you. And if I want you to fix it, I will ask you to fix it. And that's one thing that women have to get better about too, is asking. Instead of
Yeah.
just assuming that our man, our partners know what we're talking about, we need to be open and tell them, okay, I really need you to handle this. Like, can you please help me with this, or help me figure out how to handle this client? That's very difficult. And she's giving me anxiety, or him, or whatever. Like, can you help me, game plan, and how do I handle this person? But sometimes we just want to talk about it and listen. So I think, we women are going to have to figure out what we really are. And that's why these podcasts are very important, and suggesting and just saying things, because our voices and the light codes that come out, when other people hear it, it might activate something in them, and they might start realizing, oh yeah, why am I doing that? Like, why am I guilting myself? Like, why am I trying to keep up with the Joneses? Like, I'm becoming more fake every single day. These fake conversations with my girlfriends drinking wine and gossiping, it's not feeding my spirit. It's actually hurting me. And then it's backfiring, and then I'm turning into that. So I think we just have to keep at it, y'all. And I think the men will just actually just kind of like heal naturally with us, because, we are, everything is over sexualized here, so men have that on top of everything. Okay. We got half naked women walking around everywhere. Okay. Everywhere. My kids are like, my son's like, Mom, that's a thong bikini. Like, I don't want to see her butt. He's 12. It's like, good gosh. Like, and I get it, whatever, to each their own. But, there's a place and a time, and, and we've all been over sexualized. So that's a big, huge piece that women have to realize, that was a power. We became energy leaks, and we got to correct that, because it all is sacred. It's very, very sacred. So that's just kind of my advice. But I love men, and I think that they are just wonderful beings, and they are healing just like us. We're figuring it out together.
Yeah, and I like that every single one of us that have answered so far hasn't actually directly answered the question, but has instead presented some form of idea that shows that there's twisting on both sides. It's like, you can't just cut and dry how to help a man get into their feminine side, because that's what we're kind of unpacking, and hopefully we can do this again. Like, because when we did that divine masculine episode, and which led to like we did it, like Stephen and I did it, then the panel did it, and then we did another episode, and like, it's not coming to what can the men and women do to fix each other, when it comes more into first mastering always the self. And we need to master femininity in the future. We need to master what it's like to be a female, but also empowered. So we're diving into things like, because we are caretakers. we are the caretakers. We are the nurturers. We're the ones who get like punched for no reason because he feels like it. You know what I mean? And like, we're the one, but my son, in case anyone's listening and doesn't see me pointing, we're the ones who just are what you could say. And this is like, even when you get into having servants, like, can we even have servants in an enlightened environment? Probably not. Where it's like, that's the female as the caretaker. It was automatic to just throw them as the servants. Oh, you're just beneath me. But no, because that's actually part of the feminine. And like Kyla was even saying, like, how he's at work way longer than her, and like her day is more flexible and things like that, because so is mine. Like, my day is very flexible. I can make my shows around my husband's schedule. I can write my books around my husband's schedule. So like, it is like I have to as the doting wife, because my husband is a nurse. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the he-man. He is like a gentler millennial soul. And like, we've had discussions where like he needs to not allow because he's also a stellium in Cancer. So where my emotions don't have to be your emotions. Like, I'm ridiculous. I can't control this. At least hold on to your manliness and like not realize that you don't have to sink with the ship. You're supposed to find a way for the ship not to sink. I'm supposed to be the one who's sinking. And like, who even knows though? But we've been together now for almost 19 years. And we have been doing this dance of perfecting this whole time. Like, we've started in such a different place, where I was a feminist, but he was also the boss. It was this whole where it worked when we were super young, versus then becoming a stay-at-home mother, but still finding some place to be like, no, because I'm not like a doting housewife. Like, that the one doesn't equal the other. Just because I'm not making money anymore does not mean I'm not an equal contributor to the relationship. And that's a constant narrative that we're even coming up against.
Yeah, I like that. The thing about the equal country, I think it can often turn into competition, can't it? And that's the problem. It isn't. It's like I've been all. Yeah. I've not worked. You've heard it like at time immemorial. I've been at work all day. What have you done? And I, as somebody here with a mother who's actually been through this with children, it boils my piss. I'm not going to lie. But you've literally because you don't have a break as a mother. You're literally there 24/7. You're on call. You're doing like the breastfeeding. You're doing all the rest of it. You're sleep deprived, and you look at me like, you get to go to work for a break, and then you're coming home asking me what I've done, because like I've not done the washing up. It's like, come on now, So I can see where this breaks down, and it goes back to these kind of inversions, isn't it? Oh, well, you need to do this, and you need to do that, and it isn't it. I think what we need to hit the nail on the head is it's teamwork.
100%.
Kylie have got, and you and your husband you've been perfecting it for 19 years. It's a dance. You're growing together. The issues come when one's growing and the other isn't. That's the issue, isn't it? I think that's what you can often find in these spiritual kind of relationships as well, where one partner's becoming more evolved and more aware, and they're trying to speak to the other partner, and the other partner's just like, yeah, I'm just not interested. I'm just not going where you're going. And it must be really frustrating.
Well, so it's why I call it a dance, because right now I'd say we're good. Right now he's on board and the mission's clear and we're doing really well. And it's just almost then we're just always finding new layers of reality to like get through, bettering ourselves. Both of us at least have that. He might not believe all the same spiritual stuff that I do, but he's come a long way, and he's at least on like the Jordan Peterson route of it, which is all about just improving your life. Never, ever, ever stop improving your life. There's not like, oh, I got this job, I got this house, I got this car. It's never donesies. It's always that montage of improvement, and that always brings us new challenges, like of who's more responsible. Like when it comes to the house, even renovations, like I'm the one who oversees it. I'm the one who like manages the projects, and the children, I'm the one who managed the children. I'm the ultimate boss of the children. Like if my kids come say, Daddy said I could, I'm like, oh, well, I'm the boss. But if it comes to money, he's certainly the boss there. And not even because I'm a woman, but because I'm like very bad with it. I will just spend and spend and spend and be like, what? We have $500. He'll be like, we had that 2 days ago. Like, because we'll like get some money from something, you know how like the universe is. And I just don't see it getting spent. But like there's all these different variables, and they're specific to each in every person, especially as we start to, because I think it's not going to stop this androgyny. We're coming in and we're not just simply a female and a man. It's like starting to get mixed together, but at the same time, we still do play those roles. So let's go off and end with Sarah here. What were your thoughts on Dawn's question here about the male becoming more in touch with the feminine side? And feel free to go off script. We all did.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that I think that everybody's been answering really well, and I like all your answers. And I want to mention something Raquel was saying about like the communication. Just an example of that, like how, you know, a lot of times the men do think that they need to fix it when, you know, when we come to talk to them about something. But so we need to communicate with them and say, you know, say whether or not, like, you know, this is maybe the time, maybe this time I just need you to listen. You know, we need to like give them that open communication so that they'll know, oh, okay, this is just something I can just listen to. I don't have to try to fix it. And then trying to find, like, you know, just other ways of communicating. And another thing I was thinking of is whenever the okay, I went blank. Sorry. I completely went blank.
You're on something about communication, and whenever the other person.
You had mentioned something about, you know, that we're more emotional, and well, I'll give you an example. Like the other night, I had this moment where I just started crying uncontrollably for like about 5 minutes straight. And it was just such a huge emotional release. And David just sat there with me. He just sat there beside of me while I did that. And when I was finished, he asked me if there was anything I wanted to talk about. And I said, I'm really not sure what that was. I just felt like something came over me and I had to release all of that. And so, you know, that's a good example I can think of about, you know, how the men can kind of practice more of their femininity, is just kind of the females that are in their lives, just kind of being there for them like that, you know, and being understanding like that as, you know, more of a nurturer type. If that makes sense.
100%. No, that was beautifully put. I agree. And this entire conversation has been absolutely wonderful. I hope we can all do it again sometime. It's already almost 2 hours in, so we'll end it now. But I just want to go around. Does anyone have any final thoughts they'd like to add or let people know where they can find them? We'll start with Samantha.
Thank you. So I'm from the Metaphysical Back podcast. You can get it on YouTube. Samantha Consciously, Twitter. My handle is @arts_fantastic. And I just want to say thank you, ladies, because it's been brilliant just to connect with like-minded women. And I think the big thing going forward is going to be sisterhood, because that's what we really need to cultivate. It's developing these feminine bonds. And I think just quickly going back into what Raquel was saying about this fake inversion, we're told we're not good enough, both men and women. You need to be a certain way. You need to have fake nails. You need to have Botox. You need to look like a Kardashian, and everybody needs to be a clone of each other. And that's absolute bollocks. Basically, that is the biggest inversion. And it all starts with self-love. It always comes down to that. Everything does. Because when you start to love yourself, you can then reciprocate that love to another person. So I think not just in a relationship, but with other women. And I think what we really need to be doing now, especially as women in this particular, we're in an example. We need by example, that we basically, and it's about lifting other women up, and that's what I want to see more of.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. Kyla, what are your final thoughts?
I've really enjoyed this conversation, and it's been good. Like it's been an opportunity because I think this can be a touchy topic. Like like if you see some women sitting around discussing this, like a lot of times I think a lot of people might jump to some not so great conclusions, and it's no, like we're here, we're a team. We're trying to support our divine masculines. Get you guys out there. Love you guys. Love the stink out of you. And I think this has been very, very productive. And I thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to direct everybody over to my husband's channel when you get a chance. It's he's Don Rogers. He does the After Dark show, and it's March 4th Productions. And as for me, I'm actually firing my business page back up. I'm not going to be doing a whole I'll be doing local farmers markets and stuff. But if you're interested in crocheting, spinning yarn, anything like that, if you want to learn, if you have any questions about the process, I'm here because I think a lot of us are trying to get back to nature and doing things for ourselves. And I'm happy to help anybody that wants to go on that journey.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Sarah, what are your final thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to say to Kyla, I've actually thought about baking sourdough bread. So I've started, I've thought about starting to do that. So I know that isn't that something you do, right? Right? You bake sourdough? Yeah. Okay.
I'm learning more about it, and Steven's wife is the one that knows her stuff. But yeah, absolutely, come learn with me because I'm learning about buns. Like I'm doing buns and stuff. I don't have a Dutch oven right now, which is why I haven't done a loaf yet. But there's a whole lot of recipes and stuff. So yeah, by all means, ask me questions because I know what not to do.
And my sister-in-law also does that, so that's pretty cool.
It's rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just I like everything that everybody's talked about here, and I do want to say that David's Lion of God comic book is really good. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's great. And I just wanted to give a shout out to him. I'm not really sure what else to say about everything we've talked about, but I've enjoyed being here. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming. And Raquel, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for bringing us those early topics that were really illuminating, and let everyone know your final thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think the more we talk about this stuff, the more it gets out into the ether, and the more we shift reality consciousness, because the ether is liquid, or this is consciousness floating all around us. So the more we talk about it, the more it catches on, and the more our brothers and sisters will start to, hear these things. The throat chakra is opening up, and just like you, Sarah, coming on the show, it's like awesome. Like we're all kind of like figuring out how to use the technology to our advantage to get back to base. And really, we are the technology. I'm going to say that over and over because that's where we're going back. We're actually going back to the future. And it's us. So the more we can allow and just stay open-minded to things and realize, like, I really don't know anything. So I'm going to relearn everything because it's inside me. I didn't have to go out here to learn it. I need to go in here. So I have to just ask the questions out loud, and they're going to find me. And source uses anything, so, and it might just come through yourself or a friend or a podcast or whatever. And just, I think just slowing down, like the more we slow down, the more we actually change this whole reality that we're in, and then we start to mirror things back to us because we're healing, we're slowing down, we mirror back the divine masculine, and they start to heal. So I think we're just going to keep doing that together slowly. But at the same time, it's, nothing can stop what's coming. Like we are really doing this. So I'm thankful to be here. And I do a lot on X, and it's Rock Isby 17 is my name on X. and I share a lot there. And I try to, I like just pop around on people's podcasts. So I'll just keep doing that. Thank y'all.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being here. I agree with everything you said. And I agree with the consciousness thing. Not only do we start to percolate it with the ideas, but that is thereby manifesting the future, because the all is mind. We are just as part. That's the whole reason for the collective consciousness to begin with. From my motivation was we make reality, and we could do that as a single person. Sure, if we were top level hermetic master and within variants of our own reality, yes. But if we want to touch on a wider scale and touch the whole, like we're talking, complaining about the government and things like that, if we want to touch wider, then we need to create wider neural networks. And the more we come together and come up with these ideas together and resonate with these ideas together, because it can't be fake, like you were saying, it can't be fake. It has to be authentic. If we authentically agree, then we are tying streams across the globe of these ideas that will go through other people, and they will likewise get the idea. And the more people that even watch the podcast and participate in the lives, it's just further and further and further expanding that the all is mind neuro network pattern of manifesting reality. This is how it works in real time. This is the realistic way it works. And that's thinking these solutions ourselves and then enacting them and then living them out as our truth. And that's really the best we can do in this world, instead of getting all boo-hoo about all the things that come. This is an empowered group with empowered people, and it's okay to look at the truth, because you should always be aware of what's going on. But then it's like you should always have that question followed up with, what now? What do I do about it? What can I realistically get involved in? And right now we know connecting our thoughts together is absolutely a way. And if you have a better way, if you can legitimately become a politician or become a counselor or become a teacher or touch into the worlds or become a nurse and speak the truth that you know is the truth into those worlds, that's where the ripples come that will change the world. This is why I'm always telling people, I'm not telling you to just go get fired for no reason, but I'm telling you to speak your truth where you are. And if you get fired, then oh well, that's the way it is. Because if we don't speak our truth, if we don't create those ripples, if we don't live in our truth, then we just know a lot of stuff that's just kind of buzzing around us and probably causing us chaotic energy and not really changing the world at all. If we allow it and push it forward, as I try to do, and this is just my way I can think of, there's all kinds of ways though, but then we really, really, really start to make change, and we really, really, really start to become active members of this ascension. So thank you so much, ladies, for being here today. Thank you so much for helping with this ascension. And I hope we do this again soon, and we will see you all again next time. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks.